Resolution number 286, a resolution to place a question on the ballot at the November 2020 general election to amend Section 614 of the Talbot County Charter to clarify that the constant yield tax rate certification prepared by the Maryland Department of Assessments and Taxation should be used to identify properties included on the tax rolls.
Chair's up to any comments on 286.
So this one is really just cleanup language. When we had a ballot question 2 years ago, there were 3 parts to the question, and I think if anybody got hung up on one particular section, then they just got confused and they voted the whole thing down. So you'll see 2 more that we're going to discuss, but this one is literally just cleanup language. I know Ms. Lane could do a better job explaining it than I, but it has to do when we get our assessments from the comptroller's office, and there's just really no way to do it the way the charter actually states because we don't have the data. So this one doesn't really change anything other than just cleaning up the language. It's just kind of a legal cleanup. So I think that this is one that we need to clean up legally.
Any other comment? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, on Resolution 286, please call your roll.
Mr. Pack?
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio?
Aye.
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Resolution 286 passes to go forth for a ballot question. And the next matter is 287.
Resolution number 287, a resolution to place a question on the ballot at the November 2020 general election to amend Section 614 of the Talbot County Charter so that Consumer Price Index Urban, CPI-U, a measure intended to track the cost of goods in urban, not rural settings, is no longer used in calculating the cap on revenues derived from real property taxes in Talbot County.
Thank you very much, Madam Secretary. I will just chime in on this one. This was one that the committee that we put together to look at these ballot questions did a very good job at pulling this out and realizing that the Consumer Price Index Urban Indicator was not appropriate for Talbot County. We certainly are not an urban area. And having that indication on us was inappropriate. So I really want to applaud the committee for addressing this and pulling that language out as to be used as how we go about collecting taxes here, property taxes here in the county, and using that as a point of reference. So I know Mrs. Lane is not here, at least I don't see her here, but she did chair that committee, and I just want to note that they did make that recommendation to council.
Right, and yep, this one also was part of the 3-part question 2 years ago, and it currently reads basically CPI-U or 2%, whichever is less. And there were certainly times when it was much less than 2%. Sometimes we were only gaining 0.8 or 0.9%. And as Mr. Pack said, it's just really not applicable to a rural county. So again, we're trying to separate these so that they're more understandable on the ballot this year.
Any further comment? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, on 287.
Mr. Pack?
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio?
Aye.
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Okay, the next matter, and so 287 does pass for a ballot question, and the next one is 288.
Resolution number 288, a resolution to place a question on the ballot at the November 2020 general election to amend Section 614 of the Talbot County Charter to allow but not require the County Council to add up to 1 cent per $100 of assessed value above the revenue cap for no more than 5 years beginning July 1st, 2021.
Thank you very much. And this again came out of the Property Tax Committee that was chaired by Mrs. Lane. That committee was made up of a diverse members of this community. The sheriff was on that committee, as well as Dr. Salmon and many other individuals from the town, as well as from the county government. Well, I wouldn't say county government other than Ms. Lane chairing the committee. But they did a good job of trying to figure out a way to address the property tax shortage that the Talbot County has been repeatedly running up against. This is one way that the committee offered to do that. I certainly support it, and again, want to give them my appreciation for all their hard work. And there is
Well, so she is. So there were, I think there were 5. I wouldn't necessarily even call them recommendations. Recommendations for language, and there was some that went up by 1%. And so we've already whittled this down. I believe we had 5 different ones, and the council's whittled it down to the 3, any or all of the 3. This one I have concerns about, not because it's not needed. I agree with that, but there's 2 concerns that I'm having right now. The first is that basically what you're reading, these 3 were basically on the ballot in 2018 as one complete thing. It's pretty darn similar, and it failed. There's probably lots of reasons it could have failed. Council election, or they didn't understand one piece of it. Maybe they understood the penny part. Maybe if that was the only thing that had been on the ballot, it would have been fine 2 years ago. But I think that if we take 2 bites of the apple and we fail, that we're going to be really hard pressed to ever be able to put it on the ballot again anytime soon. Because if we tried it again, let's say 2 of the 3 passed and the penny part didn't, because that's a tax increase. The rest of it's not a tax increase. One's cleanup language, the other one just gets rid of, a CPI-U factor. This one is the tax increase, and while I know that it says it allows but does not require, the whole reason that the council would be considering this is because we need more revenues. And with what we're going through right now, with the still record levels of unemployment, with businesses that are still not able to operate with that function, and people not having as much money, the last thing I'm planning to do in the next year or 2 is to raise someone's taxes. So I don't know that it's going to pass. I really think it won't. And if it fails 2 times in a row, I don't think we get a 3rd bite at the apple anytime soon. So that's one concern. The other is that it says up to 5, or for 5 years. Well, if we're in this problem with unemployment and businesses suffering, we probably wouldn't even utilize it for the first year or 2. So basically what we've done is waste maybe 2 of that 5 years. I would like to see the council consider saying, we're going to do this one or something very similar to it in the next time. It affords us also the opportunity to see how the education goes for the first 2 ballot questions that we have just approved to put on the ballot. Are people just too distracted by all the horrible things that are going on right now to focus on this? And if they pass, that's great. We did a good job. If they don't, it gives us the chance to figure out, what did we do wrong? Was it, I say, just COVID, or just all of the other problems going on and the economy that's keeping them from voting for it? And give ourselves an opportunity to adjust our message in 2 years. Again, I don't think that the council, certainly not me, would be raising any taxes in the next year or 2. So I think we'll be wasting part of our 5 years. And I like to get the messaging right. And I think the message is, I thought the message was going to get lost before, but I really think the message is going to be lost right now. People are really concerned about their wallets and their jobs. And I think the timing is just off for right now. I support it, but I don't support it this year. I think it's really important that we do it in 2 years, but I'm not going to support this one at this time for those reasons.
Any additional council comment? Hearing none on resolution 288. Secretary.
Mr. President, Mr. Lesher would like to speak.
You did? I asked that he...
Well, you didn't hear it.
Yeah, Mr. Pack, I really do hope that we put this on the ballot. Looking at the public feedback we've gotten on this, every single person who's contacted on this has said, please put this on the ballot. Please give the voters the choice on this. Not one person has said, don't give us the choice. And don't make the mistake here. This ballot measure will not raise your taxes at all. In fact, this year we didn't. This year we exercised that discretion as a council. This council has shown that it can be trusted with that power. And so this is why this is, in fact, the time to do this. The public does know this council. The public can trust this council to exercise that discretion with its taxing power over property taxes in this county. It is absolutely important that we do give the council this authority. We do have some real funding issues in this county. We have just issued pay raises for our sheriff's deputies. Where is that coming from? It is coming out of reserves. Is it coming out of current revenues? No. We are dipping into the piggy bank to do that. It is not sustainable in the long run. If we want to retain public safety in this county, if we want to be able to afford advanced life support ambulance service to all corners of this county, we have a proposal in our budget this year to extend the surge capacity of our ambulance units beyond the 3 days that we now have. How are we paying for those 3 days? With the piggy bank. It's not out of current revenues. We do not have the funding. If you care about public safety, if you care about retaining sheriff's deputies, if you care about getting an ambulance to your mother or your grandfather within the prescribed number of minutes, this is vitally important. I don't know that this is enough, but it is something. And that's really important. I intend to support it, and I hope we all do.
All right, Mr. Lesher, I wasn't going to say anything, but you inspired me. Yes, listen, we have been saying to you all, at least I have been saying to you all for the last 6 or 7 years that we have a number of capital projects facing us. We have to get the sheriffs out of the business center because that building will come down. It is projected to come down sometime maybe around 2024, 2025, which means we have to start looking now as to where we're going to place your sheriff's department. If you, as Mr. Lesher's point, if you want someone to answer your calls and you're living in the county, we got to find a place to house them. We got to secure property. We got to build it. We have to build the sheriff's department so they can serve you in the county. We have an AIDS building for your health department. You guys heard Dr. Watley in here earlier today. That building on Hanson Street is an AIDS building. It's what they call a sick building. We have been trying for a number of years to secure a location for them. We have to move them out of that building. So, and to his point regarding emergency services in the north part of the county, if you're living north of Cordova or north and up towards White Mills, we'll try our best to get to you. But, you know, we are letting you all know that these are very real concerns. This isn't the council's attempt to hold anybody up or to put a job over for you. These things have to occur, and we don't have the revenue coming in to build your sheriff's department and your health department and to build your additional substation for your emergency services. These are to support you, not us, but you. And again, been ringing this bell for some time now. This is your opportunity as citizens to say, hey, I want to contribute to my future. And this will give not just this council, but future councils the ability to do that. So I likewise will support 288 this evening.
Mr. Pack, I'd like to make a couple comments, I guess, finish up. In my opinion, the real fix on here is the previous one, 287, getting rid of the CPI. That's what dug the hole. I'm excited for that. I think people can kind of grasp that concept, hopefully, and understand it. As far as this goes, I have been vocally against it for a while, saying exactly what Mrs. Price said. You know, saying that, you know, who raises taxes during an pandemic? You know, but And who would, want to raise taxes twice? I ran on the first campaign. It didn't win, obviously. And so I'm taking that into consideration. But I also think about all the meetings that we had and the great group of folks that we put together, and the diverse group that came and presented this to us. And in my opinion, I just like Mr. Lesher said, I don't see this as a tax increase. I see this over the next 5 years, starting July 1st of 2021, as being the funding mechanism to get all the businesses out of the Black & Decker building and have the cash flow available if it's needed. My goal would be not to use it, not to need it, just as we did this year. But I've been part of a council that's had its hands tied at times when financially we need to do things and haven't been able to. And I see this as a win for the community. I think that there are some emergency services that absolutely are lacking here. We do need to address those. And this will not allow us to break the bank to do those, but also not break anybody's checking account either. We can easily stay within where we need to be, and we don't have to use it, or all of it. So I am turning the tides on this, and I will be in favor of it.
Thank you very much, Mr. DeLeo. Any other further comments before we call the vote on 288?
Yeah, sure. Mr. President, I was around when we tried it the first time. I can say that it is somewhat bad timing for something like this because of what's happened. And but I think we've all been setting up here preaching that we need to put it out to the citizens. And once we put it in their hands, that they can decide it, But in order to do that, we have to give them that opportunity to actually do that. So, I'm not a big fan of, I'm like Mr. DeVillio. I think the CPI-U is where we need it to be. There's three things to choose from. I see once again, we sort of go down the road that we want the citizens to have the opportunity to vote on this kind of stuff. So I think that's what I'm in favor of, is to put it out there and let them decide it. We did have a great committee. Hey, let's give it a shot. Yes, it could interfere for future stuff, Ms. Price. I understand that. But I think we need to give it a shot. We have emergency services, and I think now the citizens all know how hard it's been for the last couple of years for us to govern with not a whole lot of funds and revenue, and we've done a good job sort of telling everybody, the citizens, that. So let's see what they say about it, and see if we can get some help from them, and put it in their hands. And if it doesn't pass, we just, obviously they've spoke, and we'll have to live with that and find ways to make this work.
Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree with.
Let me call the vote, Mrs. Price.
Can I-
We already had an opportunity to
Almost done.
run around.
Just wanted to say I don't disagree with, any of the points. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty much the one who put together the one 2 years ago. My concern is the timing. It is really, the timing is just terrible, and that is my biggest concern.
So on resolution 288, Madam Secretary, please call your roll.
Mr. Pack?
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio?
Aye.
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Okay, resolution 288 does pass also for ballot consideration. Thank you very much, council.